In this tutorial, I will teach you how to pass a cabin crew interview. So if you are applying to become cabin crew with any airline whatsoever, make sure you stay tuned because I promise to help you pass your interview at the very first attempt. And to achieve that goal, this is what I will cover during this tutorial. Number one, I will give you 5 interview questions you must prepare for if you are going to pass your cabin crew interview. These questions will come up during your cabin crew interview. You need to have strong, top scoring answers already prepared. Number 2, I will then give you 2 very important tips for answering each question to get the highest scores possible. Number 3, I will then give you an example answer to each of those 5 cabin crew interview questions to help you pass. And then finally, number 4, I will tell you where you can instantly download a copy of these slides and my full set of cabin crew interview questions and top scoring answers in a PDF guide. And also, please tell me in the comments section below the video which airline you are applying to be cabin crew with, and I will give you some more tips to help you pass your interview at the first attempt. And if you are new to this channel, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. Literally thousands of you are passing your interviews. I can only help you if you are subscribed. And please give the video a like, because that tells me you find these tutorials useful and it motivates me to create more content for you. Thank you very much. So the first cabin crew interview question I want you to prepare for is, how would you deal with a passenger complaint on board an aircraft? I will give you 2 tips for answering this question, and I will then give you my example answer. So tip number 1, remember to say you would follow your training, remain calm, demonstrate empathy and understanding, and then create a solution as quickly as possible. Tip number 2, in your answer, it is really important to show that you fully understand how essential great customer service is. Remember this, the airline needs its customers to use their service time and time again in the future and also recommend it to other people. And the only way this will be achieved is through excellent service and passenger care. Let me give you my example answer to help you pass your cabin crew interview. How would you deal with a passenger complaint on board an aircraft? Here we go. I would listen to the passenger's complaint very carefully and pay attention whilst they were speaking. Now, once they had finished telling me their complaint, I would repeat it back to them. Next, I would be empathetic to their situation. I might say that I would feel the same if I were a passenger in their situation. I would then ask questions in a caring and understanding manner to really get a feel for the situation, because the more information I have, the better solution I can provide for the passenger and also prevent it from happening again. I would then apologise unreservedly for the problem to show that I cared. Genuinely apologising can go a long way to help defuse any ill feeling the passenger may have towards the airline. Next, I would do all I could to resolve the complaint and keep the passenger informed. I would do my best to resolve the complaint myself, because if I needed to move it up through the level of command, it can get more expensive for the airline and take more time to resolve, which I would want to avoid. Now, once I had a successful resolution to the passenger's complaint, I would inform them of my actions, apologise once more, and check they were satisfied with the action I had taken. Now, that is a really strong answer. It's a confident response to that common cabin crew interview question. How would you deal with a passenger complaint on board an aircraft? I like it because it demonstrates professionalism. You are putting the passenger first, and you are also being a positive role model as cabin crew for the airline. Now, don't go anywhere, because I still have more cabin crew questions and answers to give you during this tutorial. But when you're ready, if you want to download these answers and more brilliant responses to difficult cabin crew interview questions, you can click that link at any time in the top right hand corner of the video. But here's the next question I recommend you prepare for. What would you do if there was an emergency situation on the aircraft? Let me give you 2 tips. Tip number 1, you must remain calm and in control during emergency situations as cabin crew. Say you would adhere to your training and also follow procedures to ensure the safety of all passengers. Don't forget, as cabin crew, you are there primarily for the safety and comfort of the passengers. Tip number 2, you could also state you would ensure passengers were safely in their seats and all equipment and supplies secured. Let me now give you my example answer to this tough cabin crew interview question. What would you do if there was an emergency situation on the aircraft? Here we go. I would remain confident and calm, and remember, the passengers are relying on me for their safety. I would conduct a quick assessment of the situation, adhere to my training, and implement the operational emergency safety procedures of the airline. I would ensure all passengers were in their seats with their seat belts fastened, supplies and resources such as trolleys, food and drinks secured away, and give clear instructions in a calm and professional manner to reduce panic amongst the passengers. I would then secure myself in my allocated seat, take instructions from the captain or cabin crew manager, and respond quickly and decisively as required. So that's another confident answer that's going to help you pass your cabin crew interview. Here's the next question. Now, this is probably the hardest cabin crew interview question to answer correctly, and that is, how would you deal with an unruly or difficult passenger? Sometimes the question is posed as, how would you deal with a rude or irate passenger? Let me give you 2 tips, and then I'll also give you my example response. Tip number 1, this is one of the toughest cabin crew interview questions to respond. Do not show any signs of aggression or defensiveness in your answer. Tip number 2, instead remain professional and in control. That's important. And say you would try various tactics to convince the passenger to calm down. Here's my example answer. How would you deal with an unruly passenger? My priority would always be the safety of the passengers, crew and aircraft. I would adhere to my training and quickly assess the situation before deciding on the best course of action to take. I would be professional, use non-confrontational body language and a calm and quiet tone of communication to not escalate things. I would perhaps crouch down to not be intimidating and perhaps divert the conversation to a different subject. I might ask them questions about their travel plans and what they were going to do when they reached their destination. Now, if the passenger started to become disruptive despite my best efforts, I would inform them in a confident and decisive manner that their actions were starting to affect the safety of the aircraft, and I would need to take further action, including informing the captain and the relevant authorities unless they calmed down. That is how I would answer that cabin crew interview question. How would you deal with an unruly passenger? Okay, let's move on to the next question, and that is, what would you do if you didn't get on with another member of cabin crew? Let me give you 2 important tips before giving you my example answer. Tip number 1. So this question is assessing your collaboration and teamwork skills, 2 of the most important qualities needed to become competent cabin crew. Tip number 2, in your answer, say you would work hard to build a positive relationship with your work colleague, and despite what happened, you would always be professional. Remember, you are there primarily for the safety and comfort of the passengers. You have to set aside any personal differences. Here's my example answer. What would you do if you didn't get on with another member of cabin crew? Our personal differences would not impact my work. In fact, I would do my best to build a good relationship with them because this makes things much easier at work. I would try to establish a connection with them because if we had a common interest, it would give us both something positive to talk about. If, despite my best efforts, I was not able to improve the working relationship, I would still maintain professionalism, remember that I am there for the safety and comfort of the passengers, and always be polite and respectful to my colleague. That's a really good answer. Let's move on to the next question. This is a tough one. A smaller sized passenger is seated between two larger sized passengers. Now, the smaller sized passenger tells you he is uncomfortable and asks to be moved, but unfortunately the flight is full. What would you do? This is a really tricky question to answer. Tip number 1. So this cabin crew interview question is assessing your ability to use logic and think on your feet, and then produce a solution despite there being no room on the aircraft. Tip number 2. Think logically about what you could do in this situation. Let me give you an answer based on how I would respond to this tough cabin crew interview question. If I were in this situation, this is what I would do. A smaller sized passenger is seated between two larger sized passengers. The smaller sized passenger tells you he is uncomfortable and asks to be moved, but unfortunately the flight is full. What would you do? I would ask the passenger sitting by the aisle if they would be kind enough to sit in the middle, which would then give the smaller sized passenger some additional room to his left. If they refused, I would look around the aircraft to see if I could potentially seat the passenger somewhere else. If this was not achievable, once the fasten your seatbelt sign had been deactivated, I would recommend the passenger takes regular breaks by standing in a safe place in the aisle. At all times, the safety and comfort of all passengers would be my priority. That's how I would answer that difficult cabin crew interview question. You could enhance your answer by saying again that you would always follow the training you would have received when you started working for their airline. So the next thing to do if you want to pass your cabin crew interview at the first attempt for any airline is click that link in the top right hand corner of the video. Head straight through to my website howtobecome.com and you can download in PDF format my brilliant cabin crew interview questions and answers guide. You will get all of the answers that I have given you today during this tutorial, plus an abundance of other common cabin crew interview questions and top scoring responses, including: why do you want to be cabin crew? Why do you want to work for our airline? Tell me about yourself. What are your strengths and weaknesses? The list goes on. It's a brilliant guide and it will help you prepare fully for your cabin crew. The answers are relevant for all airlines. Don't forget to tell me in the comment section below the video which airline you are applying to work for. I will give you another video to watch, another tutorial that will help you get ahead of the competition. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Literally thousands of you are passing your interviews and progressing throughout your careers. I am here to help you throughout your career. I can only do that if you are subscribed. Please give the video a like, because that does motivate me to create more content for you. And you can also connect with me on LinkedIn if you want to. I've put my LinkedIn link in the description below the video. It's always a pleasure to connect with like-minded professionals such as yourself. Thank you so much for watching, and I wish you all the best for passing your cabin crew interview. Have a great day.